I'm Alice Ford, and today we're in Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. I'm going to be showing you around some of the best things to do and places to see here in this beautiful mountainous park. The U.S. has 63 national parks covering diverse ecosystems in our country. From sea to sea and mountaintop to valley floor, America is wild and beautiful. So strap on your boots and follow me as we hike, climb, and discover America's national parks. Rocky Mountain National Park is more than 248,000 acres of high Rocky Mountains, marshland, river, lake, tundra, and forest. Home to the headwaters of the mighty Colorado River, one of the state's most challenging 14ers, Long's Peak, and valleys full of elk, moose, and bear. This is one of the best parks in America, and I hope you enjoy discovering some of what you can do and see here in the park. Rocky Mountain National Park was established in 1915 and became a World Biosphere Reserve in 1976. I visited the park on 2 occasions while making this video, spending about 4 days in total in the park. And while most visitors will choose to start their trip in Estes Park, I actually started on the park's west side near the town of Grand Lake. As you enter Rocky Mountain National Park on the west side through the Kawanichi Valley, you're going to notice a lot of fire damage. Now, over the last few years, Rocky Mountain National Park has been devastated by wildfires like much of the West. And you'll notice as you drive through here, there are just miles of burned trees, which has heavily impacted the park and its wildlife. Some of the employee housing here in the park was even damaged last year during the Cameron Peak fire. And currently in 2021, there are still some closures from current wildfires. So if you're coming into the park, please be aware of that. Make sure that you're fire safe. If you're camping and backpacking, know the restrictions because campfires are not allowed in Rocky Mountain National Park. And you'll want to check with the Wilderness Office if you're backpacking or camping. There are no shortage of trails here in Rocky Mountain National Park with more than 355 miles of them. So whether you want to take a leisurely stroll along a lake or challenge yourself to one of the hardest hikes here in the park, Long's Peak, there is something for everyone. One of the great trails to try on the west side is the Coyote Valley Trail, and this is actually one of the 2 handicap accessible trails in the park as well. As we pass over this footbridge, we're actually just 10 miles south of the headwaters of the Colorado River. Now, the Colorado River spans for 1,400 miles from right here in Rocky Mountain National Park all the way to Mexico. The park's west side is known as the Kawanichi Valley. Now, this is definitely the quieter side of the park. You're going to see far fewer guests, but you do have a higher likelihood of seeing a moose. So if that's what you're coming to Rocky Mountain National Park to see, this side of the park is going to be your best bet. Now, you can actually enter this side of the park from Grand Lake, or you can drive along the Trail Ridge Road from Estes Park. Kawanichi is the Ute word for coyote, and it was in this valley that Ute and Arapaho hunted every summer for elk and bison. That was up until about 1870 when thousands of prospectors came here looking for gold and silver. This historic site is the first ever dude ranch in Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, this was far before this area was part of the national park. Purchased by John Holzworth in 1917, him and his family established a trout fishing camp here. Over the years, they built more cabins and purchased more land. By the end, they had 800 acres and dozens of cabins available for rent, people driving up in their Model T Fords, and by horse and buggy to reach the camp. Now, many of the cabins have actually been removed to preserve the meadow here. You can actually take tours of this historic site in the summer months and even be a guest volunteer if you want. There are many scenic drives throughout Rocky Mountain National Park. And for spectacular high mountain scenery, you won't want to miss the Trail Ridge Road. This is actually the highest paved highway in the United States, cresting at over 12,000 feet and even passing the Continental Divide right here at Milner's Point. There are dozens of continental divides around the world, but just what is it? Well, a continental divide is a place on a continent that separates two drainage basins from each other, and this divide here in Colorado actually stretches from Alaska in the north all the way to the bottom of North America. Covering 48 miles, it connects Grand Lake with Estes Park, and as it winds across the tundra's vastness to its high point at 12,183 feet in elevation, the Trail Ridge Road offers visitors thrilling views, wildlife sightings, and spectacular alpine wildflowers, all from the comfort of your car. Keep in mind this road has closures often due to weather, which can linger sometimes into June and July. Make sure you check the park website for updates.
A few things to keep in mind when you're planning your trip to come to Rocky Mountain National Park. Number one, you're going to want to pack layers. Even in the summer months, the weather can change rapidly, and because the park varies in elevation from 7,500 all the way up to over 14,000, the temperatures can also vary drastically. Now, in the summertime, you'll probably experience temperatures ranging from about 50 degrees Fahrenheit to as high as 90 degrees. And in the spring and fall, you're going to experience anything from a low of around 20 to a high of about 60, give or take. So you'll want to have rain gear, you'll want to have extra layers, gloves, hats, and definitely some sun protection. As we are higher up in the mountains here, the sun is a lot stronger. Also, if you're coming from a flat place and not used to the elevation, you'll want to take a couple of days to get used to that. You want to stay well hydrated, well fed, and avoid as much alcohol as you can. Many people that come to Rocky Mountain National Park experience altitude sickness or variations of it. So if you start to feel shortness of breath, dizzy, or having a hard time breathing, try to go down in elevation, but make sure you're getting plenty of hydration while you're here in the park.
The lower elevations of the park are known as the montane. They're defined by grassy meadows, often full of grazing elk, and full of more than 350 miles of trails. The fall in Colorado's Rocky Mountain National Park is rutting season for elk, and you will most likely see them if you're coming into the park. Now, the park has fenced much of the population into the park to keep the elk away from the roads and reduce problems with elk and people and vehicle collisions. So if you see elk or other wildlife in or around the park, make sure you give them ample room to roam and do not approach them. As you make your way through the park, an area you won't want to miss is the Alluvial Fan Area. This area has a beautiful cascading waterfall on a fully accessible path and is even more stunning in the fall. The subalpine environment between 9,000 and 11,000 feet is full of natural lakes, boulders, and evergreen forest. One of the park's most popular areas is the Bear Lake Corridor.
The Rockies glacial lakes are one of the most popular things to see here in Rocky Mountain National Park. And right now I'm at Bear Lake, which is a great place to come if you have small children or with a family that doesn't want to do a lot of hiking. There is a great loop trail that goes all around the lake here. If you can snag a parking spot, there are just a couple of dozen here at the top, or you can hop on the Rocky Mountain National Park shuttle, which takes you to all the fantastic points of interest and hiking trails along this route. From Bear Lake, there are actually 6 other glacial lakes that you can hike to on a wonderful loop trail that will take you by several of the lakes and Alberta Falls. 1 mile from Bear Lake is Alberta Falls, and that's where we're heading now.
From the end of May to mid-October, there is a shuttle system in place for the Bear Lake route and Moraine Park route. If you can't get a ticket to drive your vehicle into this area of the park, taking the shuttle is the only other way to get into this area if you're not walking or biking. Keep in mind that the shuttles actually cannot accommodate bikes or pets, but they do reduce emissions and help you get to places with limited parking in the busy summer months. There's also no shuttle service along the Trail Ridge Road corridor, and starting back in 2021, you do now need an entry ticket to get into Rocky Mountain National Park. This park has dozens of great trails, and those looking for a real adventure will want to try the infamous Long's Peak. The tallest mountain in this park, this 14er, is not for the feeble or the faint of heart. The trail is long at almost 14 miles and will take most people 10 to 14 hours, which means most people actually start around 2 a.m., so they're off the exposed granite rock before afternoon thunderstorms, which make this mountain even more dangerous. Other trails you definitely won't want to miss are Emerald Lake, Glacier Gorge, the Ute Trail, and Chasm Lake. Cyclists, rock climbers, and rafters will also love this park and the miles of road, river, and crag you can explore.
Okay, let's talk a couple Rocky Mountain National Park logistics. Now, when you're coming into the park, you will need a park pass. I recommend getting a yearly national park pass. These are about $80, and they get you and your entire vehicle into this park and every other park in the nation for an entire year. So if you're going to go to more than one national park, it's absolutely worth your money. Now, Rocky Mountain National Park last year established a timed entry system for getting into the park. This runs from about mid-May to mid-October as of right now. And to get those timed entry requirements, or reservations, I should say, you'll want to log on to recreation.gov. There's also a great mobile app that includes a lot of park information where you can make those reservations. Now, most of the reservations open up the day before at 5 p.m., which I know makes it difficult to pre-plan your vacation, but this is where you'll want to look for making those reservations to get into the park. Now, check the park website because there are times that you can come in without a timed entry before 5 a.m. through Estes Park, before 9 a.m. on the Grand Lake side. Now, if you're coming into camp or backpack, there are also a couple of things you'll need to know. There are some established campsites here in the park. Most of them are open from about the end of May to mid-September. The only one that's open after that date is the Marine Park Campground, and this is going to be your best bet if you're coming in late in the season, early in the season, or throughout the winter as well. Now, several of the park roads are actually closed in the winter, so there is not as much to explore here at that time of year. And if you are camping or backpacking, you will need to have a bear box. That is required for anyone camping here in the park. And if you're backpacking and going to be doing any backcountry camping, you will need a permit, which goes through the Wilderness Backpacking Office. If you're looking for a family-friendly hike, then you want to come to the east side of the park here at Lily Lake. This is a great easy stroll around a beautiful area, and on a clear day you can even have views of Long's Peak, which is usually behind me, the tallest mountain here in the park. If you head to the park's southeast corner, you'll find the Wild Basin entrance, and it's from here that there are a ton of hikes to lakes and waterfalls. I'm in a waterfall mood, so we're going to check out Alluvial Falls. This is what I meant by unpredictable weather here in the Rocky Mountains. I just got to Alluvial Falls and also was greeted with some snow and sleet. So it's always great to be prepared for all kinds of weather when you're out here in the Rockies. The crazy things I go through making these videos. So please guys, hit that subscribe button if you're new here so that I can continue making more. Thank you so much for watching another episode of National Park Adventures here in Rocky Mountain National Park. You just never know what the Rockies are going to throw at you. I hope you enjoyed some of the glacial lakes, waterfalls, high mountain peaks, and a little bit of everything in between. If you guys are looking for more Colorado content, I've got lots more resources on my website and tons more videos. There's a link in the description to check those out. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and if you've got more questions or a comment, please leave them down below. Until next time, I'm Alice Ford. Never stop exploring.